Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning.
B'tvach Shvua Tov. We are learning Mishna Bava Kamma, Parak Dalet, Chapter 4, Mishna Zay, Mishna 7. Okay, here we go. Shar ha'isha, an ox that belongs to a woman. Shar ha'yasayimim, an ox that belongs to minor orphans. Shar ha'apitrapis, the ox that is under the charge of a guardian, like we had in the previous Mishnah, that if the ox of the orphans is goring and there's no one to watch it, they will appoint a manager, an apitrapis, to watch the animal, to watch the shar. Shar hamidbar literally means a shar of the desert, an ox of the desert. It means an ox of the wild. It doesn't belong to anybody. Shar hektish, an ox that belongs to hektish, either belongs to the temple treasury or it has been sanctified as an offering. Shar hager shemeis ve'en lo yarshim, the ox of a convert that died without any heirs, and now all his property is considered ownerless. So again, we have here an ox that has no owner. Hare elu chayavim misa. If any of these animals kill someone, then all these animals are liable to be put to death. They're all put to death. Rabbi Yehuda says, Shar hamidbar, the ox of the desert. Shar ha'hektish, the ox that belongs to hektish, that isn't sanctified. Shar hager shemeis, or the ox of a convert that died without heirs. Peturim and Amisa, they're exempt from death, because they have no owners. Okay, so that's what we have here in the Mishnah. We have a number of examples of animals that the Tanna Kamma said will be put to death if they kill someone. Clearly, there must have been some reason why we would have thought that these should not be put to death, and the Tanna Kamma and the first opinion of Mishnah tells us that it is. Rabbi Yehuda argues on some of the cases. Rabbi Yehuda argues on the cases where there are no owners. So now, let's go through let's elaborate on this a little bit. So number one, the Torah mentions the word ox. This is going in the first opinion that in all these cases, they are put to death. So the Torah mentions the word ox 7 times in reference to an ox's death penalty. 6 times it mentions it. It mentions the word ox. It actually means the word ox 7 times in reference to the fact that the ox is put to death when it kills someone. So you have one that you need it for the halacha itself, or it's for the fact that there is such a halacha, such a law that the animal is put to death. And then the 6 extra times teach that the ox is put to death in each of these 6 cases. Meaning, according to the Tanna Kamma, all the other extra times that it says the word shar is going to include all these 6 cases that were brought down in the Mishnah. So now here in the notes, they go through each case as to why we might have thought that the animal wouldn't be put to death. We might have assumed that the ox should be spared in these cases, and so the Torah to teach us otherwise. So number one, the ox of a woman. Why we would think that her ox shouldn't be killed if it killed someone? That the answer is, since the Torah refers to the ox's owner in the masculine form, Baal Hashar, it could have been thought that only an ox owned by a man is executed. The Torah uses the masculine form for the owner of the ox, whose ox is killed. One might have thought that therefore there's some kind of scriptural decree that it only applies to an ox owned by a man, not by a woman. Therefore, the Torah had an extra word to say, an extra short word of shar, of ox, to teach, no, hers will also be killed. B, ox of an orphans. Since minors, due to their lack of maturity, are not responsible to guard their animals, it could have been thought that they should not be made to lose their ox. You would have thought they can't watch it. They're not capable of doing it. So maybe in their case, the ox isn't killed. No, Torah tells us that it is. Next case. An ox in charge of the orphan's guardian. Since an ox watched by a guardian is less likely to kill again, meaning this is really a case where it belonged to the orphans, right? And at the end of the day, whatever happened, I don't know why when it belonged to the orphans, why didn't you kill it? But for whatever reason, it wasn't killed yet. And because I think the case of a guardian is when it has killed someone, it has already damaged. That's where the guardian is appointed. I think we had that before. I was making a mistake, but the bottom line is here you have unless it really means this case is really I don't know. The wording is since an ox watched by a guardian is less likely to kill again. that implies it already killed. But now that it's under the guardianship of an apotropos, so that we might have thought it's different. Why it wasn't killed the first time, I don't know. But since an ox watched by a guardian is less likely to kill again, and it is the property of orphans, it could have been thought that the Torah would rule leniently here and spare the ox from execution. It belongs to the orphans. It's under the guardianship of someone, of an adult. That means the chance of doing it again are less likely. You would have thought should be spared. The answer is no, it's not. Next case, an ox of the wild. Since the Torah refers numerous times to the owner of the ox, it could have been thought that only an ox that has an owner is put to death. That's what you might have thought. Mm-hmm. Next, an ox of hektish. Could have been thought that a consecrated ox not executed so that the temple will not suffer a loss. Belongs to the Beis Hamikdash. It's going to be an altar. It's going to be a carbon. It's going to be a sacrifice. One might have thought that we don't cause Bezdin a loss. Answer is the animal gets killed. Mm-hmm. Last case, the ox of a convert who dies without heirs. This is another case of an ownerless ox, like the ox of the wild. For whatever reason, we have another example. In this case of the ger, the convert who dies without any heirs, his property is now hefker. So again, we have an ox without an owner. We might have thought that it should be spared, and the answer is it's not. Okay, so that's the Tana Kamma. Rabbi Yehuda said, actually, that any examples where there is no owner, there we say they are exempt. And there we bring down here, Rabbi Yehuda derives from the verse, and its owner has been warned that an ox that killed is not put to death unless it has an owner. Torah lays it out that way, and he holds that's the main way to look at it. That's the main way to follow. So without any kind of owner, it's not put to death. Now, here they bring down from the Bartanur an interesting halacha, and that is, even if the ox had an owner and was unconsecrated when it killed, meaning we have a situation where, we say, Rabbi Yehuda talked about the Shar HaMidbar, the wild Shar, the wild ox, the Hektish's ox, the ox that belonged to the ger that died without heirs. All these are considered oxen without owners. Now, even if the ox had an owner and was unconsecrated when it killed, but became ownerless or consecrated before its case was judged, it is not put to death, because its status at the time of judgment is what counts. So you could have had an animal that when it killed, it had an owner. When it killed, it wasn't consecrated. But by the time it got judged, it was already ownerless because, let's say the ger had died, the owner, the convert had died, or the owner made it hektish, and now it's considered ownerless. Nonetheless, it's going to be exempt because it all matters at the time of when it's judged as to what kind of status it's going to have. And this idea can apply according to anyone. Well, I shouldn't say that. This is really in Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says that these cases are exempt. The point is exempt even if when it damaged, it wasn't ownerless, and only by the time it was judged, it was ownerless. That's what Rabbi Yehuda says. It's still exempt from being put to death because it had no owner when it's judged. At the end of the day, the Bartanura says, "Vein halacha Rabbi Yehuda." The halacha does not follow Rabbi Yehuda, and therefore, even these three cases of the ownerless ox will be put to death if it kills someone. Okay, have a good tvach. Shavua tov. Just want to let everybody know that I'll be away for 2.5 weeks, so there will not be a Mishna class. We will, Emertz Hashem, resume on July 10th, I believe it is. It's a Friday. Okay, have a wonderful day.
All right. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
And have a successful trip.
Amen. Thank you.